a holding pattern, but.
Hello.
Right. No, right. Kind of broadcasting. Television. Yeah. Okay.
Hello.
I can hear them.
Oh, so.
Yay.
Okay. Oh, ready? So wait for my. Welcome, welcome. Aaron, excited to have you guys join us. So our first order of business is the election of a chairperson. And then after we elect a chairperson, chairperson will lead us in the election of a board secretary. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to open the floor to nominations for board chair. Are there any other nominations? But hearing no other nominations, we will proceed to a written vote.
Yeah.
You already have? Oh, I close nominations, right?
I'll make a motion to close nominations. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
You've already got your. Okay, and it's unanimous. Congratulations.
Thank you. All right, next order of business is election of a board secretary. So are there any nominations for board secretary? I can just pick Sarah. Are there any other nominations? Is there any nominations? Sarah, they're perfect. Okay, all in favor? I. Unanimously. And, or it is required that we do our to writing. Oh. And congratulations, Meg. Yeah. Secretary, thank you. All right. Taking care of that business. Before we approve the agenda, I just want to say, congratulations, and maybe very shocking, Dave, we're both, we're both re-elected to their positions, so on vacation. And anyway, over there in the Barber are doing for. All right, is there a motion to approve tonight's agenda? Thank you, Meg. Is there a second? Second. Seconded by Sarah. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Great. Approval of consent agenda. Tonight on the consent agenda, there are 4 items. Approval of the October 21st special meeting minutes, approval of the November 10th special meeting minutes, approval of the Shutterfly donation to Brownsville Intermediate School in the amount of $403.81, and approval of a Planet Need donation to Brownsville Intermediate School, $51.75. So, typically, when there's items on the consent agenda, we vote on them as a whole, unless there are any particular items that any member would like to. If there are. Do that, or if not, I can look for a motion. For the consent. And, any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Motion. All right, audience of citizens. Do we have anyone with us in person or online who wishes to address the board? Get back an opportunity at the end of our agenda. All right, our next item is our Portland Public Schools Spotlight, and this evening we are very excited to welcome Becca. So, Terry, are you going to introduce this lovely group? Come up to the podium.
Hi. Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to spotlight our high school DECA with you tonight. As advisor for the Portland High School DECA, our business club, I'm proud to introduce a group of students who truly embody the qualities outlined in our vision of the graduate. And if I could just have all the DECA students that are here raise their hands. It's not just those over there, there are some over here too. Okay. Through their work in DECA, whether planning fundraisers, engaging with our community, developing leadership skills, or building the business plan for our new student-run school store that's in process, these students are practicing what it means to be bridge builders, creative and strategic thinkers, responsible citizens, independent learners, and purpose-driven individuals. Tonight, they're going to share their experiences in how DECA is helping them grow into the graduates we envision, confident, collaborative, and ready to lead the world beyond PHS. Jayla Medunjanin and Logan Kehoe recently presented at the Connecticut Fall Leadership Conference. There were nearly 800 students from across the state at this conference. They presented 9 times to separate during the round robin portion of the conference. And they had about 50 to 60 students in front of them each time they had to do this. The North Atlantic VP of DECA sang their praises, saying that you two had the most energy of all our presenters here today, which I think is a great thing to say about our Portland students. 12 students from PHS attended the conference, and they were able to do so because of our DECA fundraising that we do. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jayla and Logan so they can share a little bit of that. And they're going to keep it short because we know you have a full agenda.
Good morning or good afternoon. First, we'd like to start by saying thank you for having us. So we're going to talk a little bit about who we are and what we do at DECA. My name's Logan Kehoe. I'm the DECA Secretary or Vice President of Secretarial Matters.
And I'm Jayla Medunjanin. I want to thank you guys again for having us, and I'm the VP of Sales. Start us off the fundraising.
So this board next to us is what we actually brought to the Connecticut Fall Leadership Conference. So this is what we presented on, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what's on it. These are our 3 main fundraisers on the board, which we talked on those and some of our little fundraisers that we did. So we have our mom sale, our Egg My Yard, and the Kiss the Seniors Goodbye, and Jay's going to talk to you a little bit about that too.
All right. You know, we don't get that much money from our board, so we do our best for fundraising. And for the Kiss Your Senior Goodbyes, it's just one of our fundraisers. On here, I believe we only have 3 fundraisers, but really we do maybe about 10 fundraisers throughout the year. And I'm gonna start off with the Kiss Your Seniors Goodbye. That one is for a small Hershey bag, and you get to gift it to any senior you like just for $1. And every teacher likes to buy what students they want to give it to. The office, any teachers, maybe some will buy some for the whole grade, just so everybody feels included. And now I'm just gonna start off with the Egg My Yard. The Egg My Yard is the biggest one that we do. This one, a lot of people like to communicate to us through, whether it be even at school or online on Facebook. And Logan, you want to talk about the profits that we make on that one?
I'd love to. Thank you, Jayla. So the Egg My Yard is our most profitable fundraiser. We sell a dozen eggs for $12 and 24 eggs for $20. And last year we sold 91 dozen eggs. And that is all going into our profit before cost is subtracted out of that. But we do more than fundraising at DECA. We've had our chapter for almost 7 years now. We've been growing exponentially since then. We started off with only about 7 to 10 people, so it was almost a smaller club. And now many of you guys will know students in DECA. DECA is a very large club at the high school. We have almost 40 people now. And since you guys know how many kids are in the high school, 40 people is a lot for our club. And Jayla's also going to talk a little bit on how our chapter has grown and a little bit more about our values and what we do.
I should probably stop standing behind Logan so you guys see me a little bit. But over here on the left side, or right side for you guys, this one's about the involving everybody. We like to involve everybody that we can. That's for our VP of hospitality. We try to get new members, freshmen, anybody really that would want to join DECA because we have many business opportunities. And then within these opportunities, get to learn a lot about, businesses, how to, even if you wanted to own one in the future or to get rich in general. But on the left side, you would see over here that we're talking about communication. Communication is one of the main parts that we need in DECA. As a business, you're going to need to talk to people. You're going to need to build relationships. And over here is just a small example of our communications on Facebook, I believe.
So yes, we do get a lot of feedback from our community. A lot of these Facebook comments are about our Egg My Yard fundraiser. And I'm going to finish up our presentation today by talking about what we're going to do going forward this year. So this is mostly looking at what we've done in past years. So this Thursday at 5 a.m., 7 of our DECA students are going to be going on our power trip, me and Jayla included, and 2 of our other students over there. So that is going to go until around 7 p.m. on Sunday night. It's a whole 4 days of DECA. We go to, it's kind of like a business conference, if you would think. We go to meetings, we get to walk around DC and explore. But we're going to do a lot more than that this year. We also do competitions. We have about 20 people compete last year, which is about half the club. Again, me and Jayla included, and we're excited to compete again this year. So that will happen around February. Those are 2 of our big events for DECA, and we're very excited to compete and then also excited to go on this very nice trip that Miss Terry and the DECA community has planned for us.
All right, we're trying to keep it short and sweet. But before we close off, I just want to say thank you guys once again. And for any money that even goes through, even if it's from our fundraiser or the board or the school itself, we really do appreciate it. And we put it all towards DECA. Okay, now any questions? We hope there are some. Okay, no problem. Miss Gata, I'm probably gonna email you myself for all the fundraisers, don't worry. Okay.
I show you what kind of salesperson. I'm curious what drew each of you to DECA to begin with. Do you have like future aspirations that helped you think like, hey, yeah, DECA is going to be really great for me, or was there something else about it that was compelling to you?
Well, I have 2 reasons. First off, the person who was a VP of hospitality during my sophomore year before I joined, they talked a lot about DECA, how great the opportunities were, what I should expect, and how it could help me in the future. And I know going on for my job, I know I'm gonna work in a business. I'm not looking forward to I don't know how you say, like veterinary maybe, but I'm going to work in the business. So I'm gonna need to know how to talk to people, what to expect, what business opportunities or opportunities for my future I have after that. But thank you for that question.
Okay, I'm gonna share mine also. My reasons were mainly because of our advisor, Miss Terry. She was what compelled me to join freshman year, and I didn't really put a lot of effort into the club freshman year, I won't lie. But she did mention to me that she thought I could be a good DECA member if I came back sophomore year, put a couple more work in, a couple more hours in, and I did that. And she is what compelled me to stay in the club, and I helped gain new friends and new experiences, so I'm very thankful for her. And DECA actually, I didn't really know what I wanted to do in college, so DECA helped me find my passion for finance, and Miss Terry helped with that, so I'm very grateful. And I'm going to be majoring in finance this fall at college.
Thanks for sharing that.
Yes, thank you. I do have one more question. Do you ever hear from the alumni of Portland High School who came through the DECA program? Because I think there are some pretty successful, high school alums that have graduated from college and probably found their roots and their purpose in DECA.
Now, I cannot say for sure that we have speaking like people who were in DECA maybe 5 years ago.
Right.
Because it's been out for a little bit, but not that long. But we've had her from like seniors from the past 2 years. They're talking about like what they're doing in college now, how DECA did help them. And everyone's always saying thank you to Miss Terry, because Miss Terry really did set everything up for us.
Okay.
So it's nice to hear back from people. And
Absolutely.
I'd like to hear back from Miss Terry too.
We do hear back regularly. They email me to tell me their successes, how they're doing, what they're doing now. Michaela Wilk is in a nursing program, I believe. She's using her Excel in nursing, which don't put that together right away, but it comes through. Dorothy Weathers is doing amazing in Rhode Island in college. Eli Larson is doing amazing. I hear back from the students, maybe not to the students, but a few come back and they share their stories. And that helps with our membership drive too, because they hear about how well they did after they left.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thanks, Ms. Terry.
Any final questions?
Anything else, board members?
All right, we'd just like to wrap up by thanking you all for having us, and also while this is a spotlight on our club, we'd like to thank our advisor, Miss Terry, because our club would be nothing without her. She really does all this for us, helps set it all up for us. And so thank you to you and thank you to Miss Terry.
Thank you both so much.
All right. I just want to say one very last
Sure,
thing. We have our poinsettia sale. I probably didn't say that right, but we have that coming up. Since Miss Gata, you asked for it. I can give you guys a paper
All
for you
right.
now.
I'll get the order form from you.
I can give it you right now, though.
All right.
Pass
great.
it out. Go ahead.
Pass them out.
Take them.
Absolutely.
Yes, this sale will go on until mid-December, so there's definitely still time to order. You can fill out that order form and give it back to Jayla since she's the student handing it out to you.
Perfect.
Absolutely.
I think I bought one either last year or the year before I got, and it was like the most beautiful,
beautiful.
massive poinsettia I think I'd ever seen.
Yes, we get many compliments
Hey.
on our poinsettias and our mums. Yes.
Thank you,
so
thank you.
much. Thank you. Anything else too, just send it along. You can find my email on the board website. You're welcome. Yeah, no, absolutely.
And a final thank you for helping show our club off and letting us come talk to you about all we do at DECA.
Thank you for sharing. We really appreciate it. All right. What a great spotlight. All right, we are going to turn next to our student representatives. I'm not sure which of you is kicking it off, but take it away.
Thank you. I'll start. In the music department, chorus and band members, Liam and I included, participated in the Charter Oak Music Festival during the first week of November. Both band and chorus members traveled to E.O. Smith High School to join other musicians from schools for a show-stopping performance. For the last 2 weeks, the music department has focused on prepping for our music concert tomorrow evening, and we hope you can all join us. In sports news, every team except for football have wrapped their fall seasons, and many athletes are already conditioning for their winter sports. A special shout out to our award winners, including Gracie Durant, who was named the Shoreline Conference Goalie of the Year, and Hayden and Breckenberg, who performed so well at the Class S Cross Country Championships that they advanced to the State Open, competing against athletes from all divisions. There is a wonderful article in the River East highlighting their hard work and determination if anyone wants to check that out. On November 7th, the PHS Social Studies Department hosted the annual U.S. History and American Studies Veterans Day program. The entire Portland High School community extended its gratitude to veterans Amy Gondek, Kristen Gondek, Wayne Mergel, and James Stoller, who participated in a panel discussion and answering questions created by our 10th grade students. We are extremely proud of this program and the opportunity it provides to honor our veterans, and the event was also featured in this week's edition of the River East.
This past week, seniors embarked on a 3-day trip to Philadelphia from the 13th to the 15th of November, with stops at the Constitution Center, the Liberty Bell, Eastern State Penitentiary, the Philadelphia Museum of Art, and on the way back, the Statue of Liberty, and several other historical sites, as well as a river cruise. A great time was had by all. The annual PHS food drive, hosted by the PHS Student Senate, is taking place this week. The Student Senate is collecting donated non-perishable goods and will accept turkey donations this Thursday. All food will be delivered to the Portland Food Bank. 7 students will join Miss Terry, as we just heard, to represent Portland DECA in Washington, D.C. at the Ultimate Power Trip Conference, November 20th to the 23rd. Good luck to them. They will be traveling alongside Glastonbury, Middletown, Newington, Bologna, and Plainville High School. And now for a very special announcement from Miss Lawson, which she has specified this to be read to the letter of the T. In a continued effort to strengthen outreach and build community connections between our schools, Portland High School is hosting a Shadow Day experience program for the middle school on December 2nd and 3rd. This 2-day program will allow all 107 8th graders to shadow a Portland High School student for 4 classes. On the first day, during period 5, the 107 8th graders and the 54 PHS Shadowy students will bond through a series of fun activities, including gym games and outdoor activities, weather permitting, categories, or Jeopardy, in Portland High School cafeteria, and various card and board games in the library and media center. On the second day of shadowing, Portland High School students will be dismissed at 1 p.m. From 1 to 2:15, Portland High School faculty will host 3 interactive 21-minute sessions highlighting their courses. These are non-traditional curriculum night presentations. These are hands-on student-driven sessions. For example, lighting and electricity with Mr. Kukuchka and Ms. Stevens. Students will explore the properties of electricity generation and learn how basic electricity and lightning bolts are formed. They will investigate electrical behavior by creating lightning at 500,000 volts. Brave volunteers may even touch the Van de Graaff generator and send 3-inch arcs of electricity from their fingertips. Cupcake Wars with Miss Ball. Students will work in pairs to decorate pre-baked cupcakes using a variety of frosting, sprinkles, and toppings. May the best decorators win. Law and Society with Mr. Kenny. Are you a true crime fan? Curious about what really happens in the courtroom? In this session, students will step into the world of law and society, a dynamic social studies elective. They'll examine a real homicide case that captured national attention and determine who is responsible and what charges should be filed. Both 7th and 8th graders will be signed up for 3 different sessions through one-on-one meetings with their advisor. And as always, we invite all of you to look through the session booklet, which Anna is handing out now. And we are passing around. Yeah. Okay. Finally, Portland High School faculty and staff have started a student spotlight program Every week, a different team will recommend a student or students to be the student spotlight for the week. Last week was the first week of the program. Here's what the Social Studies Department had to say about 2 students. The Social Studies Department is proud to recognize this week's student spotlight, junior Kayleen McCormick and sophomore Davine Correa. Kayleen is recognized for his dependability in class, discussions, strong work ethic, tenacity, and great sense of humor. The department selected him for his consistent contributions and positive impact on the classroom environment. Devine was chosen for his outstanding achievement in U.S. history, his thoughtful and frequent participation in class discussions, and his preparedness and leadership among his peers. That is all I have. If you have any questions, I will be more than happy to answer them, especially about the shadowing.
Questions for Anna or for Liam? I'm really excited to hear about how the shadowing goes. So you'll have to report back in December about what the experience is like. I'm assuming both of you will be sticking around as high school students and part of this experience for the middle schoolers.
They haven't actually told us who's doing
Okay.
who the shadowies are.
Who the shadowings, yeah. It'll be a surprise. Okay, well, either way, I really do look forward to hearing about how it goes. Sounds like a great idea. Any questions for either of them?
No, but I'd like to hear the names of the 2 students who are the spotlight students.
Oh boy.
Here, I think. Yeah, Kaylin McCormick and Davian Correa.
Okay, thank you.
I also heard that congratulations are in order, Anna, for a very exciting role that you had in the school musical.
Yes.
So if you wanted to share that with the board.
Yes, I got the role of Wednesday Addams in the Addams Family.
Oh, yeah.
We had our first full script read through, so our first rehearsal was today.
Very exciting.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Sure, we all can't wait to see you in March. All right. Any other questions? No, thank you both so much for the update. All right, we'll move on to communications and updates, and we'll start with Dr. Bitten's report.
So first thing I just wanna, I'm sure you got a copy of the latest enrollment report. So we're at 1,200 students right now compared to 1,220 from last year. Again, that's down primarily because the kindergarten student surprisingly lower than it has in the past, at 80 students, but you're pretty consistent. So happy to answer any questions. Otherwise, this document is going to become very important when we start talking about the budget. So what positions we need for next year, obviously reflect student enrollment. Otherwise, we pause to see if there are any questions about funding. Question. Okay. I also did want to receive one letter of resignation from Romina Rufino. Wish her all the best of luck. She's resigned as a off-campus professional. She was with us for 4 years. Did a wonderful job. We're going to miss Romina for sure. Okay. I did include in your folder correspondence we received from Deborah Law. I went back and forth with Deborah a little bit. She did ask me to read the letter. I think that would be a little bit much. I'm not going to read the whole letter verbatim, but I will certainly summarize it for you. Deborah has spoken at the board in the past. She's always very complimentary and appreciates all of the work we do. There are several things that she is often imploring us to consider. The first is adding world language in our younger grades. We start world language at 7th grade. She would like to see it begin earlier grades, elementary school in particular, and does see how that would be a competitive advantage for our students in the global. Second thing, she is very concerned about student health and well-being, and we'd like to see us move away from serving students any kind of processed foods. It's more organic. We'd like to see us provide students a diet that would make our heart longer. So that is another thing that she asked us to reflect on. And then school start times is also an issue. She believes that school start times, in particular at the secondary level, would be better if they started later. She does reference several research studies that are out there about how students, especially at the high school level, would benefit from a good night's sleep and being able to sleep in a little bit later, is that reflect the circadian rhythms that more aligned with the university comments. And then she did end the letter with some reflections on school safety. I think in general, she believes that if students were better nourished and more rested, there might be a decline in incidents of school violence. So would you share that with you? She asked me to make sure that you got it. All right, second one. I took the liberty of responding on your behalf, but I do want to make sure you're comfortable with what I said. As you know, Portland's going through the process of developing a plan of conservation and development. So I received a request for information from Dan Boret.
Right.
Boret, excuse me. He is
Town
spearheading the
yeah.
charge, right? And he asked for the board to weigh in on some specific questions used to inform that. So shared it with Laurel, kind of wrote a response, but I want to make sure that you're comfortable with my response because I did it on your behalf. But I'm sure you will. Right? So his questions specifically were, and I'll just read it. The questions: are the school buildings adequate for modern educational methods? I think my answer had to be no. Like right now, I just kind of broke down for Dan what the configurations are. LU K1, Building 2-4, Brownstone 5-6, middle school 7-8, and the high school 9-12. The reason for the no is we know that the schools are older and they need a lot of work. And I provided him links to the sightlines report and all of the prior facility analysis that we've done that outline the many tens of millions of dollars worth of work that needs to be done in the schools. So I want to make sure that that's reflected in the long-range capital report, something that's been one of our goals and we've been working on for a very long time. So I again, I didn't feel like we needed to discuss it. I felt I just needed to share that. That's the same thing we've been discussing. And still are. Are you comfortable with my response to that?
And I would just say this, that I said on the POCD and, those questions are coming from a larger survey. And I would hope that the Board of Ed would have like a greater input into the plan of conservation and development going forward. I think it would have been preventing some of the stuff that we went through with the building conversation that's gone on for the last 4 or 5 years. So I would hope that we would continue, and I would make sure that the board is well aware of any needs that the plan has going forward. There's 2 groups that are working on finishing this before August of 2026.
So they did ask for other.
Yeah.
So, and I think I did do some of that, but if you feel like could provide more information.
I think it's a good beginning, but I think the conversation won't end with what you're writing tonight. I think that we should continue to, kind of watch to see where we can input some of our, because people move to town because we have good school systems, basically.
Right.
I mean, that's one of the criteria for sustainable future development. So anyway.
Yeah, because the next question Dan asked was about our enrollment. What are our projections? And I shared with him that we've done, well, now as of tonight, 3.
Right.
We did 1 3 years ago, 1 2 years ago, and 1 right now, which I will share with you tonight. My response to him is that those 3 projections indicate that the enrollment is stable. Not big pops anywhere. We're going to see some gradual increase, maybe at a peak 5% increase, but otherwise stable enrollment. You share with him links to 2 demographic studies that we've had done before, and I will share with you tonight. The recent one we'll go over tonight. I'll also share that. But the question was, has enrollment remained stable? And I responded, yes, and we projected we'll continue to remain stable. And then, of course, the big one here was, what are the concerns for the next decade? So, what I shared with Don, and I would encourage certainly Ann and Aaron to read if you haven't already. First, the Facilities Steering Committee report from 2022. That was a committee chaired by Lou Pear. And then the Strategic Planning Committee recommendations that was passed on. So I linked to both of those reports. And then within those reports were all of the many supporting documents. I mean, within those 2 reports are literally hundreds and hundreds of pages of analysis. I don't know if the long-range strategic planning committee is going to pour through those hundreds of pages, but within those hundreds of pages is a very strong rationale for what we need to be doing over the next 10 years. And I think that fits right in with our goals. It's going to take us at least 5 years if everything goes current schedule But I did link to all of those things and share with Don that our most recent plan calls for us to at some point renovate to new Valley View to create a pre-K 2 school, to either do alterations or renovate to new Gildersleeve to create a 3-5 school, move the 6th grade to the middle school, and decommission Brownstone, all to happen within the next 10 years. So I shared those recommendations and all the supporting documents with you. And then the last part here was just a general ask about enrollment versus capacity. And, you know, the hard part I tried to explain was that we are way overbuilt now. We have way more square footage than we need for the number of students we have. But in order to consolidate schools, we actually need to add on to at least one of them, which seems a little weird, but we're way overbuilt. We can consolidate, but to do so, we have to add a little bit onto one of the schools to create the square footage. So I provided him that information, and then generally what I believe are your goals to create high quality academic space, positive school climate in our schools, school security, right up there. Good HVAC systems, energy efficiency, cost effective for the future through consolidation, capacity for potential enrollment growth, ADA compliance, and then of course dedicated space that we're not using for use for community. So I felt very comfortable on behalf of the board sharing that information because it's all work that we've done already. But otherwise, I would ask, are you comfortable with me sharing that on your behalf? Not let me know what was in, but I need to add a.
I'm very comfortable with everything you've provided, and I think that's all really important information for Dan, for the plan of conservation development. Conservation development committee to have that information. I think to Meg's point, the only piece that may be missing, and he asked sort of a general question about it, but it wasn't on a specific bulleted question list. Sort of generally, what's been going on with the schools for the last 10 years since the last time they did this report. And I think that might be an opportunity for us to highlight, some of the things we're really proud of with our schools over the last decade and how we've gotten from there to here. Because to the point that you raised that, you're right. When we talk to people in the community, a lot of folks come here because of the strength of our schools, and it may be worth highlighting for them. Some of the things that we're really proud of.
And I think if you look at the old POCD, which is 2015 through 2025, there were some highlighted areas that we may have been working on. I don't have it in front of me, but I can look at it. But we can add that as time goes on, because I'm sure this is not the end of the questions that are going to come forth. And I think as a board, we need to also think about the next 10 years, not just the new buildings and new grade configuration, but also what are our goals going forward to increase CTE or universal pre-K or, any of the things that are on the horizon. So I think we have an opportunity to also to grow our vision for the next 10 years as the community grows.
In addition to
the facilities piece.
Yeah.
I think that's our opportunity. So we're good. I think we're good. I would just add one thing. We didn't talk about environmental stuff like the green spaces or green, we talked about it. I think we have a policy or bylaw that says any changes we make to facilities will include any green initiatives. And I think that was the solar panel. That was the beginning of the addition of solar panels to some of our buildings. So I like that idea of adding that in. So I would add that in.
Yeah, I have that as part of energy efficient.
And
building
energy
systems.
efficiency specifically, and like net, we talk about net zero. I don't know that we talk specifically about that, but yeah, thank you. That would be on the addition.
All right, so I'll get in touch with Don and ask him. Yeah. Yeah.
Actually, he's a graduate of Portland High School.
And
Believe it or not.
provide him, ask him specifically, how detailed he wants me to go in
Mhm.
terms of the accomplishments over the past 10 years. Pull that together. We have a lot of them.
I don't know that he's looking for an essay, Charles, but I do think that being able to kind of highlight some of the bigger things that have gotten us to where we are, and as you said, where we think we're heading.
Great.
That, be nice to see the schools well represented in that report. Are there other questions or thoughts?
Which leads me to the next one I'm excited to talk about. So Laurel and I were this morning at Gildersleeve for the Blue Ribbon breakfast and celebration. And Mr. Pelt came and gave a very nice proclamation, and there's a really cool picture of us all outside freezing, making GS in our blue with the drone. So thank you to Dylan for coming in and doing that. But what a nice celebration that was today. And I thank Tracy for putting that together. Very appropriate to recognize the faculty and students the way she did. It was a nice celebration. It's great. And that comes on the heel of last Wednesday. Tracy, Ryan and I presented at the State Board of Education. We were one of three schools that the State Department of Education asked us to talk to State Board of Education about how we moved from focus school to School of Distinction Blue Ribbon. And Ryan is an amazing presenter, and Tracy did a great job. It was an awesome experience, and I hope that they got, some good insights into how we accomplished, or how I should say Gildersleeve accomplished what they did. And then I think we gave them some good suggestions for if we were going to improve the grant process, what they might do. And a lot of the feedback that we got from them was very, they appreciated our time, and I thought we did a great job. Thank you to Ryan.
They record those meetings too, so you can go back and look.
I
at
think
them.
I'll find the report.
Yeah, I think they're on, I can send you the link. I usually look at it after.
Will you share it out?
I
Because
will.
I was,
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
giving Charles a little bit that he didn't get a recording of the
I-
presentation.
Yeah, no,
I'd
they
love to
do.
see it.
As far as I know, they record them. I watch them, so, yep, I'll send you the link. Yeah.
Thanks.
All right. A couple other things here. So I have some big important updates to, in terms of where we are with our strategic plan. So first, I shared with you, and it's a long document, a lot of numbers, a lot of discussion about methodology, but it is Peter Prouda's most recent enrollment study. So again, pretty stable enrollment. The two numbers that are most important in there are the peaks that we can anticipate, because this determines the space we can use and our reimbursement. Those numbers are, Mr. Prouda projects that at its height in 2031, Valley View will be at 338 students. And that it's at its peak in 2034, Gildersleeve would be at 298 students. So those are the numbers we've shared with our architects, and those are the numbers that we can build to that maximum number over the course of the projected term that Peter Prouda put together.
And that's with the grade reconfiguration.
With the grade,
Yeah.
that's at 338 would be pre-K two,
K2.
and 298 would be 3.5. So it's only small growth within that. So that's what those are the numbers we're going to work with. Those are the numbers we'd have to submit as part of any grant application that Stephanie and I would be putting together.
Can I ask you, Charles, about those numbers? Have you had any conversation with Mr. Prouda since receiving this updated projection from him about how he handled Brainerd Place or any other, the fallout from Brainerd Place, whether he anticipates home sales in town or what that, how he handles that?
Yeah, I did. I talked to him at length about it, and his best advice was look at the current. The current phase one is filled at 80%. We've drawn from that one student, right? So that's one way, he said, to look at the numbers. That if phase one is 80% full and we've seen one, by the time both phase one and phase two, I think we can anticipate 2 or 3 kids. Phase three, don't forget, is 55 and older.
Right.
So we wouldn't get any students from that. So at the number 3, without knowing what grade levels they are, he said that's pretty nominal impact. You don't know if those kids are going to be pre-K or high school.
But when we looked, so last time, I know yes, that's based on the current
Okay, right.
80% fill rate. When we looked at other similarly sized communities in another similarly sized community with another similarly sized development, there was a slightly larger impact on the student population. So how are we meant to interpret that or estimate for that kind of?
Yeah, and it was hard because that's what last time what we did. I reached out to Bertrand,
Right.
and Bertrand, and asked him, what he would project. And at that time, don't forget it was I don't think he had made the decision about assisted living being phase
Right,
three.
it wasn't. It was
Right.
another apartment with offices, yeah,
It was different then, but he was saying, he was looking at, I think it was
Brookfield.
Brookfield and one other
It
town.
was Brookfield, and he said they built housing out there with the same configuration, no playscapes, nothing that would bring children into the place, mostly young professionals and seniors who are empty nesting and downsizing. And he projected, I think there were 15
Right.
kids that came out of that development in Brookfield,
It was.
which is a
Yeah.
higher end development, I believe.
Right. And I think it had more 2 bedrooms.
Did.
So that was all before we had any real numbers to work with. Peter shifted now to say one building is filled at 80%. That's what I'm comfortable working with. And so it was hard. As far as the second part of people selling their home in town, moving into Brainerd Place and their home being sold to families that might be coming in. I did ask Mr. Pelton about it. He hasn't seen that yet in any of the current occupants. I did ask Peter about that and he said, whoa, that's an interesting, I have no way to, develop a formula for that. Right, that he said, yeah, that could happen, but he wouldn't even be able to look at comparable communities to figure out how to do that, so he didn't want to touch it.
I think there's three things. One is the housing market's not great right now. The numbers coming out of home building companies right now is down because people are not selling, they're not doing major renovations. So that's the first thing, and so I think we're living in a false positive, negative time because of the economy. I think the other thing that's interesting, and I don't know, I think I sent you the article, the new housing stuff that got passed the other night in the legislature. The governor wants to build affordable housing near transportation hubs. Well, Middletown and Route 9 could be considered a transportation hub, I suppose. There's additional money for school construction if the towns were to allow for more affordable housing, and I'm not sure what that looks like. Single family apartments, townhouses or whatever, but it would be for a group of people who make under 70,000. I guess they make, the family of four would make $70,000. And that would be the kind of cap for to have that criteria for affordable housing. But I think, again, the future, and it's really hard to project. And the other thing is, I don't know if Portland really knows how many buildable lots they have, because we have the floodplain of the river, we have the forest, the state forest, and we have a lot of land that's buildable, but it's very expensive because of all the stone and the ledges and all of the costs to build the driveways and the septic systems and the wells that go into these houses. We're not going to have sidewalks up on the back of Portland. We're not going to have town water up there either, sewers. So, it's expensive to build. But I don't know that we even have a good idea about how many houses we could build in Portland in the next 10 years. And I think that's part of the plan of conservation and development, I think, to project that. So I think Peter Proud, his numbers are okay.
Is there still back and forth with Peter at this point, or is this pretty finalized?
It's finalized at this point. He would be happy to talk to us. He
Yeah.
answers by calling right now. It's great. It's fun. He says golf season's over, so I'm available anytime now, right?
Yeah.
So he's retired. But I agree with Meg. I'm comfortable with these numbers.
I mean, 3 times, this seems like that's the
Right.
charm, and we've gotten the similar numbers
Right.
3 times.
So that then leads us to, so our architects used these numbers and met last week with the Aspects Development Committee, shared both the buildable square footage at Valley View, which would involve adding a little bit to it, right? And of course, showing us a plan for with 6 classrooms at kindergarten, 6 classrooms at first grade, 6 classrooms at second grade. Now, that's a lot, right? We generally average between 4 and 6 classrooms. So with those numbers of classrooms, that would be very comfortable that we would be able to fit certainly our current students and have a couple empty classrooms. If that were today, we currently have 6 first grade classrooms, 6 second grade classrooms, and 5 kindergarten classrooms. But if you look ahead, you see some years with 4, right? So
Those are a bit of an anomaly.
those are a bit of an
We tend
anomaly.
to have 5 or 6,
Right.
particularly at the younger grades. kindergarten, first grade, 5 or 6.
Right. The concern was, of course, when we looked at those, that, hey, are those classrooms going to be big enough if you're putting more into the space? So what we did is we compared our current class sizes to the class sizes that we would, the room sizes, right? That the square footage in the room. These would have us envisioning 800 square foot classrooms. Currently, some of our classrooms are 780 square feet. Some of them go up larger, but those classrooms are just they're not designed for that. It looks like they were kind of cobbled together.
Cobbled.
in-
I
So
like the one.
the nice thing is that the classrooms would be bigger than we have now. And then, of course, the pre-K and kindergarten classrooms would be even bigger because they have bathrooms.
Mhm.
So I think the committee that met, when we looked at those numbers, we were pleased to see both that the classrooms would be large enough and that they would be at the 6th kindergarten, 6th first grade, 6th second grade, they would work well.
And that gives you flexibility,
Gives us
because we have
flexibility.
had classes where we had 7 second grade classes, and so you can move people around and have that flexibility.
And of course, after that, we got the budget, the high level picture of how much it would cost with the potential reimbursement rates that we're eligible for between the pre-K 15% bonus, our 54% reimbursement rate, and the potential of up to 5%. I think I can say our committee was pretty pleased with the numbers we were looking at about. The only thing we really have to consider, and this, I think, when I get to the end of this, we're going to be talking about a board retreat. I think it's time for us to go talk about this as a retreat. Is, do we want 2 pre-K classrooms or 4, right? And the costs and benefits of that. But now would be the time to start making some of those decisions, as that's one of the options that we're considering, which would be to potentially expand. At Gildersleeve, same thing, right? So there, the challenge here is that Gildersleeve is too big. There's too much square footage for slight, right, for 290 students. So there, if we were going to renovate that to new, there's some parts that we might have to demolish. But we don't know that yet. The other thing to consider about Gildersleeve is whether we do just the alterations or look to a renovation to new. And how much better potentially a renovation to new would be compared to alterations when you factor in the reimbursement rate we would get and the amount of work that would be done, that you wouldn't then have to do anymore because it essentially have a brand new building to run for the next 25 years, as opposed to if you didn't do some things in alterations. So those are the big questions that we're wrestling.
Can I share something
Of course.
that was interesting as well? Since we're talking about this, you might remember after the last committee's work, we were talking about with Gildersleeve, there was like 9,000 square feet of Gildersleeve that was sort of up for debate. And the committee's conclusion was, boy, it would be a shame to demolish 9,000 square feet of a building that's currently being used. That's a lot of square footage. And that was part of the committee's recommendation to take a capital approach rather than renovate to new, to try and preserve that square footage. More things have changed since that committee concluded its work. And one of the things that's changed that Bryce explained to us last week is that the way that the space standard calculations are made has shifted a little bit. So in our favor, so between the shifting in how the space, square footage eligibility is calculated and the removal of, which we anticipate, of that giant awning at Gildersleeve, which needs to come down anyways because it needs to come down. And also was being counted as square footage because it's a covered area.
Yeah.
And the state requires that be covered as counted towards the square footage space standard. So between removing the awning and the shifting and how that square footage is calculated, we're only talking now about like 3,500 square feet that we would be over instead of 9,000. So it's an easy, it gives us a little
Space.
a little breathing room, I think, in terms of how we have this conversation with Department of Administrative Services.
I wonder if we do early start kind of thing, the preschool in that space, or opened up as another space for pre-K. And have an extra classroom or two. Because there are districts right now that are charging tuitions for parents to bring their kids into the public school system early through either early start or through pre-K. And we could do that.
And we have another.
Okay.
And we certainly have a lot to talk
I
about in
like
that
that.
regard, yeah.
So all that was kind of background to get me to.
Yeah.
Where we're headed. So tomorrow. We'll be in a meeting with the Department of Administrative Services. We have a meeting called a plan design review conversation. That's going to be a very important time for us to ask some very important questions to the state. Most importantly, confirm those reimbursement rates. Let's make sure those are accurate because those are game changing in terms of that pre-K in particular and the potential discussion about square footage at Gildersleeve. We're gonna ask them if we can save that square footage, not give up any square footage, but keep the higher reimbursement rate. And then how we use that space is gonna be a very important focus of our conversation, including potential special education programming that might become eligible for even higher reimbursement rate, but also help us make the argument for keeping that.
I think that's a newer part of the building too. Which
It
is
is.
probably
It
in
is
a
the newer
better,
part of the
it's a better
building.
shape than some of
That's
the other.
So that meeting's happening tomorrow. And then on Thursday, we have a meeting with a gentleman named Matt Ritter. He is our bond counsel. So he's gonna come in and sit down with Mike Felton will be there. I'll be there. Laurel's gonna come to that.
I will not
Oh,
be
you're
at
not.
that. I will, you'll have to fill me in after.
I'll fill you in. But that's gonna be an initial conversation about how we would frame a resolution. That was something I think we made some mistakes on last time we did this. So we really want to get that conversation started now, which.
Matt was very influential in getting the Durham Middlefield school consolidation. And we worked with them, Lindsay.
Great.
I think First Selectman Pelton has already had some conversations with him
He has.
in setting this up, and he is raring to go to get Matt on board with helping us frame the question correctly.
Super.
So those two meetings are happening this week. And then the Monday before, or Tuesday before our holiday break, Ed Specs Committee is meeting again, right? And I think we'll be sharing out the information we received from the Department of Administrative Services and from Matt Ritter. And I think the committee is going to be ready to make some recommendations on which of these options we like, right? Once those are made, our architects will then take those recommendations to Downs Construction to develop a very detailed, it's called a conceptual order of magnitude budget. This is a far deeper dive into how much it will cost. That said, I don't want, and I know Laurel doesn't want to get ahead of this board. So I think we need to have sometime first or second week of December, while all this is going on, a retreat. I think we need to find a time, both for our new members to process this, but I think we have to talk about pre-K, we have to talk about special education programming and space for that and digest a lot of this with the board, because this committee that's meeting is an ad hoc committee of the board. It's ultimately the board that would be needing to approve any ed specs plans. So I'm sort of, that was all kind of like a long way to get to. Is there a willingness to have a special meeting within the first 2 weeks of September? To this December, right? I think it would be great if we had two things on that. One, I'd love to invite Nick Russo down, just to kind of like maybe talk with us a little bit about norms of the board. But then I think we really have to roll up our sleeves and have a discussion
Well,
about
we
that.
can talk about whether we can fit Nick in our agenda,
Right.
because we want to talk about this. The other thing that I would really like to include in our retreat is a pre-conversation about our budget before we get to our budget workshops in January. That was really productive last year to have some of those conversations ahead of time.
I have an immediate question, so I should already know. Which committee, who's on the committee? Is it the Board of Ed committee, is it the town committee? What's the committee?
Yes, the Education Specifications Development Task Force is an ad hoc group. It's a task force of the Board of Ed that the Board of Ed put together. And Thank you for
include-
asking. I was gonna talk about that during board reports, but we can talk about it now. Because
Say
we've been
its name
talking
again?
about
Education something?
education specifications, which is the name of a report that we
Yes.
develop and approve as
Yeah.
part of this process. So this is the development task force.
Okay.
We asked a group of community members to join us to provide input and support around
Yes.
the development of this document before the full board votes on it. So it includes Kim and Dave and myself from the Board of Ed. And Kim and Dave both sit on our Buildings and Grounds Committee, so that's sort of where this work
Yep.
grew out of. So it's Kim and Dave and myself from the Board of Ed. We asked John Dillon to join us from the Board of Selectmen and Mike Pelton for Selectmen. They both kindly said yes. We have what? Yes, we have Megan Campbell, who's a special education teacher at Valley View. We have Ryan Wallstrom, who's the Valley View principal. Carl Johnson agreed to join us on the committee, and Bob Shea is sitting in ex officio on the committee with us. I'm really glad to have his input. Charles, obviously, Stephanie, obviously. Did I get everybody? And Fryer. So we've had at our last meeting, we had Mike Serrano and Bryce Sons from Fryer Architecture who are
They have lived through the
supporting.
last 5 years.
They sure
Yeah,
have,
yeah.
and they're supporting the development of this document, making sure we have all the information.
Thank you.
So that is who's been in the room. And the purpose of that committee is to think through kind of the finer details of what's next. So that Kim and Dave and I can come back and Charles will be working to develop an aspect document out of the work of this committee. And we can come back and share that with the full board in more depth. But these kind of two bigger questions around, do we expand our pre-K classroom space? And, how do we work to preserve the square footage at Gildersleeve? These are kind of bigger questions to wrestle with. And we really do want to make sure that the full board understands and, we kind of come to consensus on those issues. So that's why Charles and I both are recommending that we set aside some time to have a retreat, to have some more in-depth conversation about that alongside the work that task force.
And for Ann and Aaron, I'm sorry, but we've got to move quick.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
you only, I'm.
So we've got to
Great
get you up to
committee
speed
task
very
force.
quickly, because
Okay.
part of our goal here is to get something moving towards the Board of Selectmen, right? So that, we can get both boards comfortable with it. And then, of course, we have a lot of work to do with our community. We need to do some focus groups and, have some community discussions about this and market this the right way before the Board of Selectmen, if they agree to this, move it to a bonding referendum, which we're aiming for May. Right? So really what my hope is that, sometime late December, January, the Board of Education can be approving ed specs plans that reflect the conceptual order of magnitude budget. And, Stephanie and I then have all the information we need to write a grant pending an approved bonding.
Are we still considering a financial planner
Yes, that's another step.
conversation? And I sent you that fellow's name from Middlefield. This is helpful in putting it in black and white so people could understand.
Yeah,
Well,
that was a
that's-
request, or that was a recommendation made by the previous committee and is, I think, kind of at this point now on our first selectman and our board of selectmen to.
To make sure that.
Yeah.
Charles, are you looking for dates?
No,
or-
not right now. So
Okay.
what I'm looking for is
That's-
consensus on having a
Ah.
board retreat. Comfortable with that?
I move.
You're good. All right, no, you don't need to. I'll have Trisha.
Okay.
Yeah, tomorrow. She's gotten very good at scheduling, as big a pain in the neck as it can be sometimes. We'll get in touch with everybody, share some dates and times that would work.
Give
Maybe
you
we
with
do-
you Saturday.
Might be Saturday, might be an evening. Maybe we could do dinner or breakfast together. Some form, but it's about, I want to make sure it's everybody's.
Yeah, but that's okay. You're good.
Well, the 9th, which is a Tuesday, I'm oriented, so.
Yes, yep.
That's right. We can't do it on the 9th. That's
Can't come
the
then.
leadership program. Hey.
So we'll get that on the books. And I apologize, that was a lot, but we have a lot going on.
There's a lot.
And, it's just a ton of information to digest and.
But don't panic and we will get you
Yeah.
caught up.
Yeah.
And
Not
please
panic,
feel free to ask questions
Is
if
there-
you have questions. I want you to, I do feel like you can ask questions.
Oh, then I did have another question.
Yeah.
Is CTE career and technical education?
Correct.
Meg used it. I want to make sure I Googled it, but I was fact checking.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, no,
Yeah.
fine.
You're alive at it.
I know there's a lot of
There's
acronyms,
gonna
but
be
we'll
lots
get
of
you the. we're
I
gonna
will
get you the
interrupt a
board
lot.
member,
Not a
packets, right? Are we ordering those? The new board member packets? Because I have
Yes.
Got
the
one right
purple
there.
books and the
Like
gloss,
you're in
and the
that one.
gloss, and the glossary.
Was?
Got
Yeah.
'em. You already got, there's a glossary in there. So
Oh.
you'll know all the acronyms. There won't be a quiz, but that's the new board members pack.
Was that the
Enjoy.
last item on your list? Okay,
Uh,
any other questions for Dr. Britton about any of the things he addressed before we move on? Okay, we're gonna keep going because there's a lot on here. We are gonna move to Stephanie, our assistant to the superintendent for business and financial affairs, and Stephanie has provided us with most up-to-date authorized spending report.
So not to confuse you guys anymore and add more to it,
Mhm.
it's usually I would meet with you all before, I think, a board meeting, but I think we're meeting in December. So I'll try and do like a high level of what this is, but we can talk more about it when we meet. So each month, I provide the authorized spending report. This is as of, so like this one, I ran it yesterday, so as of Monday. These are all the expenses, where it says YTD, that's what we've spent so far. Obviously, year-to-date available is what's available and the percentages. Charles and I always say, we take the month of the year you're in, divide it by 12, see what percent you're at. If you're on or around that percentage, you're pretty good on point with where you are in the year. So 11011s through 29,000s, those are all the salary and benefits. In the financial system that we have currently, we don't encumber salaries or benefits. So those are the ones that may look a little different than the other accounts because we encumber POs. So just real quick, looking at the first three. So certified salaries, those are our teachers, administrators, teachers and administrators. If you look, we're at 73.09%. We're 4 out of 12 months in, 0.33%. If we have around 67% left, we're doing good. We have 73% left, so we're doing okay. 6971 in classified, those are paras, admin assistants, non-union custodians, everybody else other than teachers and administrators. 69.71. For that account to be close on, it is fantastic because that's where our para line usually fluctuates. But we're pretty spot on with our hiring that we've done and with all the different funding sources we have. I did things a little differently this year, so it doesn't look as off. I actually created a cost, they're called cost centers, but payroll.
Yep.
Where in the past, all paras that were grant funded were still put in the LEA, so it always would look like we were $400,000 in deficit.
Yeah.
I created, well, the town created for me, cost centers to charge them directly to the grant. So it doesn't look as awful as it usually does.
Yeah.
So,
That's
and
nice.
it makes things easier. It's less journal entries I have to do at the end of the year. Makes life a little easier. So that one should be a little more accurate, going forward. Oh, I lied. 11013 is custodial. In my budgeting world, 11012 is both, but it is split out here. Same thing, spot on with custodians. Benefits, if they're pretty spot on, some of them we haven't spent yet because it just depends on when they get charged. Dental, we usually don't do at the end of the year. Workers' comp, we don't do at the end of the year. You'll notice medical insurance is at 57. That's because we paid everything through November, which is month 5, which is 58%, so close there. Everything else below salaries and benefits are all purchase services, legal, supplies. These are all things that we encumber in the beginning of the year. So that's why you'll see there's only, and like supplies, there's only 37% left in supplies. Because a lot of the supplies are encumbered, custodial supplies, I'm trying to think of other things. But basically, if you see a lower number, that's because we encumbered up front. 56001, 56003, 56006. Those are the important ones. That's your special ed. Those ones will always show in a negative. Because the way we budget in Portland is net of excess cost. I'll explain excess costs when we meet about what it is, but it's state funding that we get to cover a portion of our high need students. Unfortunately, we can't, I have to separate that revenue stream that comes in a different account. So those will usually always show a deficit. But when I do my projections and when I tell you, let everybody know, I take that into account. Right now with anticipated excess costs, it's kind of a weird time of the year. We don't know what our percentages that we're gonna get back. We don't know for open choice what our allotment's gonna be yet because they do their final run in December. So it's kind of like a holding pattern right now in November. But estimating, and I went conservative with excess costs. I did in the past, we've only gotten, 63.71%. So going in at 63.71% and not, hopefully 70 if we get it. Between open choice, I can talk to you guys about open choice, about how we bill for special ed services. So between the open choice billing, the excess costs that we get back, we got our first allotment of the seed funding, which is special education. One of those acronyms again, but it's extra special education funding. Right now I'm looking at around about a $50,000 surplus. I don't want, like I said, it's still early. Things could change, we had one PO get put in for special ed that I was at 100, now it's down to 50. But overall, I think that we're healthy, we're doing okay. We're fully staffed. Few of the lines I'm watching is the special
Always insurance.
well, that and the substitute line. So minimum wage is going up again, so we've had to meet with ESS to figure out, how we're gonna increase the sub rate. Since we went to Red Rover, I feel like our fill rates have been a lot better, which is good. Our subs fall under 30030. Again, it's all lumped together, so it's hard to tell or explain, what piece of the 30030 is just for the substitutes. Like I said, we can get more into detail later on with that. And as
Can we do a
budget.
breakout for that cost center for just, when you substitute?
When I do
because
when I do the quarterly report, I usually do it.
Because it is confusing because purchase services is also maintenance agreements on
Right.
copiers. And so, yeah.
So quarterly, I give the quarterly report where I compare the expenses to last year for this time, and in that report is where I break out the substitutes. And I think our budget for substitutes is 268. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's of the 832, 883, it's probably a quarter of it. Like I said, when I do the quarterly report probably in January, you can see, those numbers. Trying to think of what else that would be important to point out for you guys right now. Like I said, everything as of right now, if you have any questions, and I think with the less questions, it helps answer, people understand.
Electricity maybe and transportation.
Electricity.
That kind of.
Yeah, so electricity we encumber based off of previous years, what's been spent. That's why it looks like a negative 6,000, but we always end up having leftover money at the end, in that account. And I'm really excited, in about 6 months, all of our energy savings leases are coming off. And so I'll be very excited for that piece to see, especially Brownstone, but Bob and I were actually looking at the Eversource bills because we got solar put on Brownstone.
Yeah.
And over the last bill, the lease payments not lease payment, the energy efficiency piece of it is 1732. But the invoice itself was 19 something, so $200 the bill would have been if we didn't have that lease payment. And then looking at, so in about 6 months, we should be seeing, yeah. Which that reminds myself for when we budget next year to make sure to take those pieces out. Transportation, we're doing pretty good. Sarah's admin assistant Olivia came up with a document where basically going from their original budget when we started in the beginning of the year and show, a snapshot of where we are now, because as most people know, we have the new van, the van drivers, And I think that we found there was almost $380,000 in savings between changes that have happened between the end of last year, getting the van, getting now that everybody's like in and has their own schedule. It's been great. I mean, it gets, poked a little bit at a time, we had to fund some positions, but I mean, overall, we've seen significant savings and hopefully that's, going forward, that's the track we're on.
That is good.
Any questions? That's a lot.
That was a lot, but it was very, I mean, I think that's really helpful, Stephanie. Other questions about any of the items on here or just general questions? Stephanie?
Tell me what the reimbursement, so we spend $96,000 for students in special ed that are outplaced. And the reimbursement rate is last
Whatever we
year
get
was whatever it
calculated.
was, so calculated at.
They started the 3-tier system. We're in tier 2, so we technically should be getting 78%. We have not seen that yet because the needs have been so much higher throughout the state. So they have to reallocate it
less
based
money.
off of that. Last year we got 70%. But then they gave that extra like kind of bonus money to try and get us to where we should have been, which was helpful.
That was part of it.
I
Yeah.
don't know if that's
Yeah.
happening again this year. I don't know what our rate is yet. Our threshold is, that came out, it's 96. It's
96.
it's only maybe $200 more than what it was. It's not significant. In the past, it's been $3,000-4,000, but it's like $200 difference this year. So that's not a huge piece. Like I said, with doing my projections, I'm basing it off of 63%, which is what we've gotten
In the past.
the last like 3 years. Just to be safe.
Yeah.
So I don't want to overestimate.
Yeah, you don't want to
No,
overestimate. All right.
Thank you, Stephanie. And Stephanie will provide us with an authorized spending report like this every month. And often there'll be a document with it that sort of highlights anything she's keeping an eye on or any significant changes since the previous. And then we do get a quarterly report that looks at where we are compared to previous fiscal year. So if you ever have questions.
And every so often we have to do transfers from an account that has
Yeah.
too much money in it to an account that doesn't have enough money in it to balance the budget.
Don't go into that. That's.
I'm-
Quick,
But
We're gonna be
I've
talking about
seen
a
that.
policy very shortly about.
I know.
The fun
So-
stuff is budget though, so we're starting to dive into that now and then many discussions.
Stephanie
Alright.
works her magic, believe me.
I've
She does.
seen it on the Zoom.
She does.
Are there any other questions for Stephanie? Keep moving. All right, thanks, Steph. Next up, we have our Director of Student Services. Sarah.
Hello, welcome to our new board members. Pleasure to present to you. Congratulations. So no big updates to my report. There are 2 new areas you might have noticed, but I'll just give you the primer on why they're there. But no big changes in student services. Everything is going really well, but it's always a pleasure to update you on some of, our data and what's going on. So for our new board members, typically I talk about each section. I'll pause after for questions on that section, just so we kind of keep it tight, and then just move through the report. So first, box is always our numbers. So the total students with IEPs, number of outplaced students, students placed in district special programming, students receiving special education services at magnet schools, students that are in the identification process, and students with 504s, as well as our multilingual students. So right now we are pretty steady with what it looks like this time of year. I did add that percentage under total IEPs because, as you know, a big push of the department and the state right now is looking at our eligibility rate. Right now, state average is around 17% students with disabilities. So obviously we are a bit over that. So a large focus of the department is looking at our eligibility process, looking at what pre-referral supports we have for students before they need special education. So we're looking at that closely. So I will just continue updating that percent for you in former reports going forward. Any questions on that chart? Nope. All right, great. Professional development on election day, we had a district-wide PD day. Some of the things that our student services staff worked on, Chuck provided a great AI tools for special education PD that our staff experienced. We researched some new K-12 SEL curricula that we might, explore in the future. Our structured literacy folks collaborated. We deep dove into APE, adaptive PE for our students, and then did some training on some of our specific programs that we use for students with disabilities. As you know, it's a big push of mine and my school improvement plan to increase collaboration between schools. So all of these sessions were providers from different buildings working together. So that was really nice to connect people. Because though we're a tiny little district, sometimes it feels like we work, 20 miles apart from each other during the day. So really nice to build those connections between folks who do very similar work and share that expertise. Any questions on professional development? No? All right, hiring. I am pleased to welcome 3 new individuals to Portland. We hired for our Rise at Gildersleeve program. That is our self-contained program for students need significant supports. So Ariane Macy is our new teacher there. She comes to us from Benton Haven Academy, which is a private special education school in Wallingford. So that was exciting. She's made an immediate impact. She's a great member of the team. We have 2 new paraeducators, Alex Boutine, who's a paraeducator at Valley View, and Brianna Haglund, another paraeducator at Valley View, and they have been great additions to our team as well. Both of them are new to working with very, very young children, so it's been quite an experience. Alex is a football coach, so to see him holding the hand of a kindergartner or first grader is kind of funny, but they're doing really well in their new roles. We have 1 open paraeducator position at Gildersleeve that we are currently interviewing for right now. Any questions on hiring? Nope. All right, transportation. As Steph said, it's been a really positive budget impact for us to operate our 3 vans. It's also allowed us to do a lot of last minute transportation. So for example, if a student breaks their leg and isn't able to get on a bus, we're able to turn around that transportation for that family really, really quickly versus having to seek out an alternate transportation option. So I think that has been an unintended consequence of having those vans, is just those situations we're able to respond really quickly. Or for example, we have a field trip where students are going to be walking, and some of our students with physical disabilities or who would just struggle to maintain, that kind of field trip, we're able to bus them on one of those vans versus contracting something separate. So a lot of really, happy accidents, positives of having those 3 vans at district. We are continuing to discuss improvements for our fleet. Olivia and I are looking into van tracking for our vans and some other things that transportation companies typically have, just to kind of shore up our fleet as we continue to, really increase what we're doing transportation wise. Any questions on transportation? No. All right. So these are the 2 new sections. So this summer, as I shared, there was a whole slew of special education legislation that went through. One thing that was added, kind of interesting they did this, but annually superintendents have to report to the board on 2 things. 1, all outside contractors and agencies that are providing services to students. I have to provide you their name, the scope of their service, the age of the students they serve, and their phone number. I also have to do the same for any community organizations that are providing job experiences. So because most of those services are special education focused services, it made sense for it to just go into my report. But I will leave this in my annual report, and I'll just highlight, or my monthly report rather, and just highlight any changes. But this is a piece of that mandate that came from the state. So you see here, all of our outside contractors and agencies that provide services for our students. The majority of them are outplacement services, but Cheshire Fitness and ProCare are 2 that provide direct services to our students. If you flip community organizations, this is the work of Ted Pinto and his phenomenal team. These are all of the businesses that we currently partner with in our transition program, which if you remember 3 years ago, there were maybe 3 businesses on this list. It's grown significantly. So that is really an exciting thing, but that is just, your mandated reporting of all of the folks that we're partnering with. But I think a real positive is that transition program piece and how much it's grown in 3 years. Any questions for me on those 2 items?
How does a business know they could do this, or is Ted reaching out like this is great?
Yeah, so
Is it
Ted,
to expand more?
Ted and his job coaches are incredible.
Job.
Honestly, the most success we've had is kind of mom and pop shops. Unfortunately, like we used to work with Big Lots. A lot of corporate entities have a lot of rules around volunteer labor. So Goodwill was another one that we were trying to work with, and it didn't quite work. We needed a certain amount of workers' comp type insurance. There were just a lot of hoops to jump through. So honestly, it seems to be word of mouth, or Ted just driving up to places and saying, hey, I'm Ted Pinto and this is what we do. And then really Sarah Karastasios at the senior center has been an enormous conduit in the community. We work at the senior center, at the food bank, at the library, but she's connected Ted with a couple different folks. So really it's word of mouth, and we found it's most successful when it's small mom and pop shops versus bigger entities. But Walgreens has been a really nice addition this year because it's right on Main Street, it's walkable. But yeah, that's typically, it's a very person to person type of.
Well, Stonewall
contact.
Farm is run by people living with a disability, so that's.
Yeah, Stonewall's a wonderful site. And all of these, we've added a few this year, but really all of our small sites have continued with us over the 3 years. So I think they're happy with the service the students are providing and the service that they're providing to our students.
Follow-on question.
Yeah.
Are there any types of businesses that the students have expressed interest in working with that maybe can for just information?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think technology would definitely be one. We were working with Kid City, which is a website for a little bit, having the students do some art and some different like web inputting. That just doesn't have as much work because it's a single woman kind of running all of the activity, which is very cool. I think animals is always one that kids are interested in, and we do have a few. But vet type of care, bathing and cleaning animals. Right now, the animal sites are outside. So it's a favorite for them to go to the farm, but it is really cold. So that becomes less of a favorite through the winter. Slice Works is a big one, and they're a great, organization that works a lot with folks with disabilities. So food service is a big one. I think animals and tech would be the two that we are always looking for more. But Ted is a great person if you know of anyone to send them their way. Yeah. All right. Any other questions for me about student services, special education? Any questions for Sarah?
Well, Sarah, thank you so much for your, as always, thorough report.
No problem.
All right. We are going to move along to new business. The first item of new business is to set a graduation date for the class of 2026.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sure. Yeah, so that I forget what year it was, right? So several years ago, the legislature changed the law so that you could set the board date early. And of course, the thing that would change it would be snow days. But we like to set it now so that project graduation can book the sites for the project graduation and families can plan. People come in from all over. So Kate's recommendation, I spoke with her today, is that we set it for the last day of school. Now we know there will likely be a snow day or two, but that's okay. So we would have graduation on Monday, June 15th, 2026. That would be for the class of 2026.
Has Kate been able to get in touch with anyone from project graduation working on setting a date and looking at locations that are available to them?
Yes.
So we know that they can
Yep.
find a suitable facility for that evening.
Yep.
Great. Any questions for Charles?
Give you the motion.
No, great. Then I would be looking for a motion to set the graduation date for class of 2026. Monday, June 15th.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Annie. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Meg. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Gonna be here before we know it.
Before we know it. Summer, all right.
All right, I'm excited for the next item. This is, you were asking about what CTE, Erin, is.
I know. Get 'em up.
We have Corey Toussaint here to talk about the career and technical education career clusters and pathways. And Kim and I were lucky enough to get a nice update about this during our last curriculum meeting. So we felt, the curriculum committee, the two of us who were there, felt that this was a great item to bring before the full board because Corey has done just a tremendous amount of work to develop some really cool things for our students and has great vision for where we're heading in the future.
Great. Well, good evening, Board of Education. Thank you so much for allowing me to come here tonight. I know we have a presentation that's gonna be on the board that's gonna kind of serve as a help for me as I'm going over some big changes in CTE, which I can confirm is career and technical education.
Thank you.
First off, I want to state that The reason why I'm here tonight is because the Portland CT department has really experienced some exciting changes over the past couple of years. Even as soon as this year with one really big change that has come into play. So next slide. The two big changes that I want to share for career technical education is first off, the CT program of studies, which I believe all of you hopefully should have a copy of. If not, it is on the district website. And then also this new exciting thing called the Cobalt Consortium, which I'm really personally excited is off the ground and running. So next slide, we'll start up with the program of studies. So the whole reason why we now have in Portland a CT program of studies is a paradigm shift that has really trickled down from the national level to the state level and into local districts, which focuses in on a real shift, a real change in how we are supposed to think about classes that we would probably traditionally think of as in their own separate silos that are now coming together and teaching some core skills together. So what may be considered, family and consumer sciences, which, a lot of individuals know as like old school home ec classes or technology education classes, which oftentimes are referred to as shop classes or computer classes, and then our business education, have all kind of come together as a department, especially over the last 8 to 9 years, and focused on coming together with a collective vision under a department called the Career Technical Education Department. And so this shift is not only meant to align these departments from a teacher standpoint, but the focus is really on the student and focus on how students are perceiving the classes that they can take underneath the umbrella of career and technical education, and how they can better navigate those courses, which could eventually potentially lead to career opportunities after high school and beyond. So next slide. So got a little slow version of how it's going. No, you can go ahead and play that video. This is just sort of a slow version of the, I believe at last count, I think it's a 29-page document that is our CTE program of studies. And this is the hard work of many individuals on the CTE team. So I'm proud to say that I am one of 6 awesome members of a CTE team, 2 of which were here tonight. One who still is over there. Hi, Dylan. And it's a hardworking group, and it is a group that really bought into this change and this shift for our program here in Portland. So per the Connecticut State Department of Education, and really where they get a lot of their national guidance from is through the Carl D. Perkins Fund and organization, which is a really big proponent for career technical education, and more on that later, the grant side of things. But every participating district who participates in Perkins 5 needs to have a program of study. And now if you go across the districts, especially small districts in the state of Connecticut, what constitutes the CT program of studies can really range. But there is kind of an optimal vision for how it should look. And I'm proud to say that Portland now fits that optimal vision, because in this reworking of our program of studies, we focused on establishing student CTE pathways, which go through our Connecticut approved career clusters, and how they attain, how students will attain certain status within those pathways. We also have occupational specific opportunities for students, which Portland refers to as culminating experiences. I'll dive into that a little bit more. And then any additional unique features for the department that exists. So all of those things I'll sort of go over tonight. I can for sure talk to you about CTE for hours and hours, but I promise you I will not. Okay, I know you have a packed agenda. All right, next slide. So what you'll first see is that CTE currently stands as a 7 through 12 department here at Portland Schools. We start in the middle school with Karen Lucas and myself, and then expand up to the high school where we have 4 more members of our team. In the middle school, we look at our classes as launching points for each of the individual career clusters. So as you can see, we have 4 CTE classes at Portland Middle School that all students do take throughout their middle school career. And as you can see, each of them leads into at least one or possibly multiple different career clusters that we then continue on and address at the high school. The 4 career clusters that you'll see there are information technology, business management, administration, hospitality and tourism, and manufacturing. Then as we move into high school, things get a little more specific. Next slide. We have ourselves our 4 career clusters with the 14 individual pathways that we have established as a CTE team at Portland High School. These CTE pathways are career-specific pathways that exist underneath these clusters, where if students take the courses that are inside of those pathways, they are gaining the skills necessary to then pursue that career pathway outside of high school. So as you can see in this colorful rendition of the graphics, we have different varying sizes of our career clusters and pathways, but we do have 14 different pathways in total that students can travel. Along with that, we have some other cool opportunities, which actually I'll lead into in the next slide. Actually, first, I do want to talk about the why this sort of shift has happened and why Portland has truly bought into it. When you traditionally have a student, right, who may seek out a middle school or high school guidance counselor and say something like the example that's up on the board, I think I'd like to learn how to open up my own restaurant one day. What classes should I take? The traditional way of thinking is possibly, oh, well, you know, at Portland High School, we have, if you're thinking of opening a restaurant, we have some awesome facts classes with Miss Ball, and we have some business classes with Miss Terry. We think that's really where you should go. And this new career cluster and pathway mindset is sort of the modern answer that our department has taken on. And that is, well, you know what? We actually offer a restaurant management pathway. And that pathway has you taking classes, but also participating in all kinds of different culminating experiences that build those skills needed to one day run that restaurant for yourself. So this is really a paradigm shift of going from like, okay, these classes that exist in silos actually work together to build lifelong career skills and pathways for our students. Next slide. Speaking of culminating experiences, these are the things that CTE does and is very proud of. That we participate in outside of the classrooms, and that's outside of the classroom. As in any CT department across the state, Portland has plenty of these things. And we have actually broken them down into 3 subcategories, and these are actually defined by the state as well. But we have simulated workplace experiences, we have college credits and IRCs, which are industry recognized credentials, and we have clubs and extracurriculars, which we offer outside of our class time or potentially even built in during our class time. So if we click forward once, you can see all our simulated workplace experiences. We actually have 3 students who are participating in one right now, which is pretty fantastic. Being a part of the WPHT team, whether you're streaming outside of time or actually working through the morning announcements is one. We have an awesome Highlander Cafe in this very school, a student-run restaurant. We have our collaboration with the Portland Secondary Schools music program with the theater production every year. And we have both the middle school and high school yearbook, which is run through Jostens, which is a simulated workplace experience for the kids. At the middle school level, not excluded from this, there also are some other workplace experiences. For example, brand new as of last year, the Junior Highlander Broadcasting Network, which is now our middle school streaming studio, which was built in my room. And we have our Portland's Own Products Expo, which is the culminating experience for 8th grade, where students actually create products for a sale that we then sell to the community. We also have college credit and industry recognized credentials. And as you can see, we've got a lot of those there. Credentials such as the ServSafe culinary certification. We have Onshape certification, Microsoft Office, Google certifications. And we also have some ties to some local college credits. So we have some ties to CT State, Sacred Heart University, and we have courses that are offered along with the AP College Board. And then finally, we have our clubs and extracurriculars. And you saw DECA tonight, which is a CTE club. It is actually our one CTSO, which is our certified student organization, which helps us in Perkins, which I'll talk about later. We also have a sewing club here, 7 through 12, and our engineering club, where students really get hands-on experiences in the environments outside of the traditional classroom experience. Next slide. We also have some awesome things inside of our program of studies, which includes our CTE student status. So the state recommends and asks for us to establish what it means to be along one of these pathways as a CTE student. So if a student takes 2 courses in a single pathway, they are considered a CTE student participant. That means that they are participating in a pathway, and we recognize them as such. We also have a completer, which is a student who is able to to complete all of the courses inside of a given pathway. And then we have our accelerators. And our accelerators are our students who complete all of the courses in a single pathway and participate in one of the related culminating experiences. that I talked about in the last slide. We also have our National Technical Honor Society, which I helped introduce about 6 years ago now. The National Technical Honor Society is a great opportunity for our students that sort of coincides with our other honor societies at the high school that focuses on the CTE lens. So if students do complete 2 credits in a single career cluster with a C or better, receive a recommendation from a Portland CTE teacher, and if they maintain a 3.0 cumulative GPA until their graduation at Portland High School, they qualify for the National Technical Honor Society, which is an awesome honor society and also a great little thing for our students to put on their resumes as they apply to college. So those are the other things that you'll see inside of there. You'll also see a page dedicated to Perkins, and I'm excited to talk about our updates with Perkins if we move to the next slide. Portland has participated in Perkins for a long time. And ever since I have been the curriculum specialist for CTE, I have been the point person for Perkins. Now we have for the past 8 years now, partnered with Learn. And it's been an awesome partnership. And when we partnered with them, we've gotten PD opportunities. And what we've definitely benefited from is the Perkins grant, which is a CTE grant that is offered to all programs that do align to pathways and clusters for CTE programs that we have used for some awesome things, whether it's helping out with studio equipment or getting a great PD opportunity or a field trip opportunity. We've had these awesome opportunities through Perkins. However, even though Learn has been an amazing partner for many years, we felt that there were some goals on the local level, and I know I had a personal passion for this, trying to establish some local connections and some meaningful partnerships in and around Portland that couldn't be accomplished when we were partnered up with Learn. So what we decided to do, and this was something that I finally jumped on last year, was starting up a brand new CTE Perkins consortium right here with Portland considered as like the main agent of that consortium. So we reached out to some neighboring districts. East Hampton and East Haddam got back to us and said that they would love to collaborate with us and create this new consortium. So we have created the Cobalt Consortium. As a little side note in there, the reason why we call it the Cobalt Consortium is because, and many of you may be aware of this, but there's a little village of East Hampton that if you drive to Cobalt Center, you basically have a choice, right? And this is kind of how I pitched it to the group when we met together is, growing up in Portland, I knew this. When you got to Cobalt Center, you could go forward and you'd be going into East Hampton. You could go right and you'd be heading into East Haddam, or you could turn back around and you'd be going into Portland. So it's this great meeting point of our 3 towns, which is the exact reason why we call it the Cobalt Consortium. This is the group of all the CTE teachers in Portland, East Hampton, and East Haddam, working together to achieve the goals of the Perkins grant, but also to achieve some cool things on the local level. So we have established this group. We actually met all together in the same room just at this last professional development day. And it was great. The energy, I was very nervous because I'm running this consortium. So I was like, oh man, how is this going to land? How are people going to receive this? But I get in there and the energy is just so high. We have individuals who are, thirsty and hungry for forming partnerships with other individuals who teach the same things as they do. And getting everybody in a room together was awesome. So East Haddam was nice enough to host us. Their family and consumer science teacher made us a delicious breakfast. Dylan, I'm still thinking about those cinnamon rolls. They were fantastic. And it was a really great day. And it started to establish that first goal that we have, which is establishing PLCs within the 3 districts that can lead to enhanced collaboration and reinforce our practices across our content areas. But we have another goal this year. And it is when we looked at our program of studies, which we created as a CTE team over the past few years, we noticed that really one thing that we want to address is we want to find connections, not just to local industry, but to local industry. There are great business opportunities right here in Portland, East Hampton, East Haddam, even across the bridge in Middletown that we could definitely tap into. And I think now's the time for us to truly engage in that. So students have the opportunity to not just take courses with Mr. Bernard, Miss Terry, Miss Ball, Mr. Richards at the high school, but after they're done with those courses and they follow a pathway, there's actually an exit strategy for these students with, hey, here's an industry you can go right into in a neighboring town or in our very own town. right under the bridge. We have great industries that, are possibilities to partner with. And as this consortium lead, I am the person who is going to become the door knocker. I am going to these doors and I'm going to start talking with these industries and seeing if they want to engage with us and form partnerships. So that's kind of the other big thing that we're accomplishing in the CTE department. So the program of studies and the Cobalt Consortium. I want to thank you again for allowing me to come here and share this with you. Like I said, I could go on for hours and hours about this. This is what I'm truly passionate about. And I'm glad that I get to see all these students when they start their CTE pathways and programs, and then, feed them into the high school and hopefully beyond into the future. So we are, I wouldn't say we're in the infancy stage of this, but with this program of studies just developed, the possibilities are endless now. And now we have this document that we can point to and we can add on to. And we're really excited about what we can do into the future. So I'll stop there and ask if the board has any questions or anything.
What questions do you have? Great information. They just.
Yeah.
I think you're right. There's a lot of little machine shops. There's a lot of stores and retail and all kinds of businesses that really use interns as students. And I also want to just add that CTE doesn't preclude or exclude kids going on to college to get, community college certification or 4-year degrees or master's degrees, but it gives them an opportunity to work and perhaps go to school and have their employer pay for their college as well.
Yeah, for sure. That's a huge passion point for me as well, is that yes, college is not the only option, but it's a great option, right? And we are very proud of not only the industry recognized credentials and things like that we do, but our ties to the local colleges, and our CTE program is a huge boon for our program and boon for our students, for sure.
One of the things that came up in our curriculum meeting that I thought was a really cool point that you made, Corey, is that the development of these pathways is not necessarily in competition with vinyl and the technical programs that our students have access to, but it's offering something different, and it allows students to pursue that their interest right here in, Portland High School, which is really cool.
Right.
I definitely appreciated you pointing that out.
Yeah, it's definitely, we understand that certain students will be geared towards different high schools when they potentially get those opportunities, but we also want to emphasize that we got some great CTE opportunities here at Portland as well, like some awesome clusters and pathways. And this articulation helps with that argument, right? So now we can actually kind of point to the pathways that we have established. Yeah.
In the roadmap, is there any consideration for like sharing talent and educators across the 3 towns? So that you can offer some additional specialized courses?
So one of the things we had to do to start our consortium was host an advisory board. And when we hosted our advisory board, the conversations were really awesome. And there were some really great long-term ideas that came out of it, and then some short-term ideas. Some of the short terms in terms of collaboration were, yeah, not only can we get these teachers in a room, but we can use each other as resources and be able to help each other out. We have a Highlander Cafe. East Hampton has this awesome daycare program that they have established at their high school. And how can we benefit from each other, whether it is helping each other establish programs in our own districts or using each other as resources in different ways. So definitely exciting conversations that can happen now that we are a part of this group, right? So I told my group when we came back from our first meeting, I was like, possibilities are endless. Like any really high reaching pie in the sky idea is not unthinkable now that we have this partnership established. So yes, we're definitely in the beginning stages of those conversations, but they are being had for sure. Yep.
We're looking at kind of those in the local pathways and into that's one of the sort of set goals of this. I focus in one consortium. It's going to explore something.
Right.
And obviously, the childcare program, the cafe here, the manufacturing that we might be doing here, somebody else is doing a nurse's aides or paraprofessionals. And these are all pretty good paying jobs for somebody who's coming out of high school that has a certificate or has the internship under their belt that can actually be employed right away.
Right.
So I think that's good.
Yeah. One of the great things that my very, very hardworking team. I mean, I know one of the things that I'm excited about is you look at that culminating experiences page, and there was, 20 plus little logos and graphics up there. And that's the power of a 6-person department right there who are doing those things. And I'm so proud of them. And the fact that they're doing amazing things, that if we just find these connections, make these connections to whether it is to local industry or local colleges or whatever it might be, we're able to establish these lifelong pathways for kids that considers them not just as high school students, but beyond. Yeah.
Exciting. It's very exciting. Are there other questions or thoughts? No? Well, you might want to talk to Ted Pinto because apparently
That's
he's an
true.
expert
I know
at
that.
knocking on doors and building
You have a list to
relationships.
start
so maybe
with.
he
Yes,
can
no
get tips for
kidding.
you.
Yep, you got it. All right, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next item is the appointment of 2 trustees to the Gildersleeve Wheeler Educational Fund. And I guess just briefly, because Annie, I don't know how familiar you are with the Gildersleeve Wheeler Educational Fund. We are very fortunate in Portland that this fund exists. It was established a long time ago, and serves to support Portland Public Schools with small initiatives that we wouldn't necessarily otherwise be able to fund through our LEA budget. It's not intended to fund things long-term, but really provide support for initiating new efforts. And there are 2 board members that we need to appoint tonight. Is there anything you wanted to add about either of these appointments or about the
Yeah.
Gildersleeve Wheeler Fund?
Just that you'll learn more about Gildersleeve Wheeler Fund this spring, because any of the grants that come to them are approved by the board first. But it's amazing. We are so lucky to have them. It's
We
just,
really are.
it's unbelievable what they've done for us.
Yeah, and I will say that Andy Bauer, who's been on the board, and Stephanie Tatro, who's also been on the board, both of them for many years, are just, wonderful people and wonderful supporters.
Lifelong
of the
supporters of school, but school's important.
So we're very, very lucky to have them. Are there questions about either about the Gildersleeve Fund or about the these appointments that we need to make? If there are not, we'd be looking for, we have to take these separately, so we'd be looking to make a motion first about Andy Bowers.
I'll recommend the Portland Board of Education that the board appoint Andrew T. Bauer to serve as trustee of the Gildersleeve Wheeler Educational Fund from January 1st, 2026 through December 31st, 2028.
Second. Thank you, Sarah, seconded by Kim. Any discussion? Other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Motion passes unanimously. All right, Sarah, you're on a roll. Do you want to make the second motion as well?
I'd like to recommend to the Portland Board of Education that the board appoint Stephanie Tatro to serve as trustee to the Gildersleeve Wheeler Educational Fund from January 1st, 2026 through December 31st, 2028.
Thank you. Is there a second? Seconded by Annie. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you all so much for that, and especially thank you to Andy and to Stephanie for being willing to serve on the Gildersleeve Wheeler board and for their support of our schools. Are very, very lucky. All right, item D is Board of Education policy. This is a first reading on policy 6159, individualized education program. And just so you're all aware, we, per our own board bylaws, we like to give policies 2 reads. So this is a first read on this policy. We won't be taking action on it tonight. But the policy committee and Dr. Britton can give a little context for this policy update. And then you'll see it on a future board meeting for us to take action.
These are mandated policies through legislation that was passed in June. And so what you're getting is a red line copy, so that you can see the changes that were made. Sometimes we are able to just insert language and cross out other language. Sometimes we do a rip and replace where the newer policy is easier to just, it supports a whole slew of different languages and language adjustments. And so we will rip and replace the policy, but these are all mandated policies. This one in particular has to do with the IEP requirements that we and it's also due to the changes that were made in June through legislation to upgrade the special ed.
So the changes aren't,
They're not
they're not
significant.
significant. There is a new chunk of language towards the end that came out of legislation. It's around supporting children of members of the armed forces. So it's just inserting some of this specific language from that came through legislation through our Cape model policy. So there, did you want to add
Yeah,
anything else?
and that is for the military children to align with that policy. And then, of course, what you saw tonight in Sarah's report is we're required now to report out. It says annually, but it'll be there every report, those in-house programs that we have in the contract. So those are the two big language changes.
And the other thing that's additional is that you'll notice the policy also has a regulation that follows. We don't approve the regulation, but that's basically the implementation of the policy by Sarah and the people in this case. So we have two documents.
So if there are questions, we do approve the policy, just to be clear, the
Right.
board will be asked to
We don't
approve
need-
the policy. The regulation is an administrative document implemented by Dr.
Right.
Are there questions, thoughts, concerns about any of the proposed changes to the individualized education program policy?
I have a question, but I also can email these questions if that's easier.
It's okay. I mean, now's the time to ask it if you'd like.
Yeah, I guess this is page 2, and it's the red portion at the top, and I'm just curious, what's driving this choice between whether a student would achieve the district's adopted content standards or achieving individualized standards? Do we have history on that? I can,
Why don't you
just
email
follow up
them?
with an email.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like, cause I think Sarah left already, otherwise
Yeah,
I'd call her right
yeah.
up and be like, Sarah, come on in. But
Okay, thanks.
what would differentiate the two? I'd rather have ordinance, yeah.
But
Other questions?
This is more of like a curiosity, like if this is mandated by the state, we can't change, like, what are we discussing?
So, I mean.
I don't mean to be.
No, it's
Yeah,
snarky.
it's a little more nuanced than
Yeah.
that. I mean, the specific language, some of it's mandated, some of it's not.
Some of
it's
it we
interpreted
interpret
through
well.
us, for us through CAPE. In this case, this was a chance to update our policy because it hadn't been updated in a little while to incorporate CAPE's more current language that we know accurately reflects.
There's a little bit of both. It's like
It's a
new
little bit of both.
legislation and
Some
wordsmithing.
Right,
Okay.
and sometimes the answer is no, we can't change it. And
Right.
other times there is flexibility for us to make changes.
Okay.
In this case,
I have to say, if it's a mandated legislative
Right,
action,
that's-
on the back of the policy, you can see the history of and all of the legalese that goes into, and it could be, and in this case, they're saying, court cases and other things that have made the changes. There was significant changes to the policy. We could give you like a policy highlight thing to read that we get, but the wordsmithing, you can't, what you say, may I, or can I, or will I, those kinds of changes are really not.
So who
We're not
made
capable of
this update?
this update is a direct legal
The
department.
we is Kate.
Yes.
Okay.
And generally with mandated policies, we want to make sure that we're, so to Meg's point, our policy hadn't been updated in a little while. They had
Significant changes. There was a study,
significant changes
there was
that
a
we wanted
task
to
force and then
Oh,
recommendations.
so then who's the we then? Sorry. Who's the we?
We as a
This,
state. of
this
Connecticut-
recommendation is coming to you from the policy committee. So our
Which is
process with
ours.
policy, our Portland Board of Education policy subcommittee.
Okay.
So and that'll be on the agenda in a minute.
Oh, cool.
Committee and liaison
Great.
assignments. One of our standing committees is a policy committee that's responsible for receiving quarterly policy updates from the legal and policy departments at CABE. And they stay on top of what all the legislative changes and mandates are that we need to incorporate into our own documents and practice. So the Portland Policy Committee receives those updates, goes through them with as fine
Portland
tooth
people
and
have
comb as
looked at this
possible
and
and
done a
brings
great job.
recommendations to the full board about, here's what's mandated, here's what we recommend, here's what we're skipping because we don't think we need it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, when we do our orientation,
Yeah.
I'll show you.
That's
what-
what.
Like, you're gonna wanna look at
you're gonna
the policy manual, which is about that big. I mean, there's,
Which is all available online.
yeah, it's all you can see. Oh, we'll show you how.
Yeah.
So.
You can look on the
So-
Board of Ed website now.
I found it, I started
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
It can be overwhelming.
Well,
That's what I-
hopefully that's clear. If there are questions, you can ask them now. If
So
you
my
read
homework
through
is
it
to
again,
read this
Mhm.
and then come with more questions.
or you can always email questions ahead of time, which is a great idea because then Dr. Britton can answer them for the full board ahead of time. And then we will be taking action on this at our next meeting. Any additional questions, thoughts, concerns about this one? We're gonna loop back to it in December. All right. Okay, next item of new business is 2026 Board of Education meeting dates.
So Trish included those in the packet. Pretty consistent year to year. Look.
Yeah, thank you. Sign this in the pocket. Sorry, which this is good. Thank you. Does everybody else have a copy of the meeting dates? No. The proposed meeting dates? This is pretty standard from year to year. Couple extra meetings scheduled in January for budget meetings. Typically 2 meetings a month, some months are a little lighter. The only recommendation I might have would be the February 3rd meeting to push it back a week since there's only 1 meeting in February. To make it February 10th, because you and I both will be out of town on February 3rd. That's going some advocacy with CABE in DC. So if there was flexibility to push that back a week. That would be,
I would agree.
I have no objection to me.
Is there a long weekend around Christmas Day? And is that Thursday, the day we're in session?
Usually it's the
Double check
19th.
that.
I think it's the following, so.
President's Day is the 16th.
It's the 16th.
Just wanted to double check things.
Yeah. Yes, the long weekend in February is, it's your.
It's right here, February 26th. It's gonna be the 13th,
13th
14th,
through the
15th, and 17th. So we could do the 10th.
Yeah, if folks are flexible and willing to consider that, that would be helpful. Any other thoughts, concerns, questions
No.
that work for you if we push it back to the 10th? Okay. Thank you. Any other questions or things for consideration for the schedule?
Trish, you got that right.
If there's nothing else, I would ask for a motion to approve the 2026 Board of Education meeting dates as amended.
So moved.
Thanks, Meg. Seconded by Kim. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any abstentions, any opposed? Motion passes. All right, thank you all. We'll get that to Mr. Tierney. Did you need that copy back? I think it's still your. All right, the final item of new business is committee and liaison assignments, and hopefully you all received in your packet somewhere a list of current Board of Education committees and committee assignments. I'm not looking to make any appointments tonight, but I did want to just run through this really quickly so that you all understand we have 4 standing board committees, policy personnel, which also handles contract negotiations, curriculum, and buildings and grounds. And in addition, we have some liaison assignments to our CREC Council, to the Board of Selectmen, to the Portland Public Schools Climate Coalition, and to the Youth Services Advisory Board.
And also wellness and health, which they went to 1 meeting, but Charles, that committee still exists and should have a board member on that. So
You can look into that, Meg.
It does still exist. And I used to go as a parent.
And we can look into
making it a, like a
Like
board
we
that
should,
liaison
yeah.
position that we include on our agenda. If
Yeah.
that's,
Okay.
and anyhow, so we do need to make sure that our committees are full and that everybody's represented. So I guess what I would ask is that you all take a look, if you're currently on committees, take a look at what you're assigned to and think about whether you're happy where you are, or if you're looking to make changes. If you're not currently assigned to any committees, take a look at, the committee descriptions, and then you and I can talk sometime between now and our next meeting, and you can let me know, what you'd be interested in or where you think that you have skill set that would be helpful. And at our first meeting in December, I will be looking to make appointments to make sure they're.
So we need to have 3 people, 3 board members on each committee because we cannot have a quorum. And it doesn't mean that you can't go to a curriculum committee. You can't go, you could go to personnel. You're able to go, but you wouldn't be able to vote. I mean, that's the difference. But we need 3 people in each one. And these committees, sometimes policy meets before the Board of Ed meeting on the first Tuesday. Sometimes we meet two Tuesdays in a row, but it would be before the Board of Ed meeting at night at 5:30. Personnel meets whenever they need to, as
All the
needed, all the time. And could be 7 o'clock in the morning, it could be 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock. Curriculum meets after school at about 3:30, once a month.
Once a month, yep.
Building and grounds meets as needed. Depending on, we get updates usually beginning of the school year, what's been done over the summer, any crisis that's coming up. We're not involved in the ed specs or the specifically the consolidation plan for schools. We're dealing more with whether or not sewer backed up or the roof is leaking and things like that, just general updates. So that's as needed. Operations is the full board and the finance is the full board.
Yep.
Nice and
Thank
easy.
you.
Good luck.
So think about it, and I would love to plan to touch base with each of you between now and our next December meeting to make sure everybody feels like they've got a spot where they feel good. All right. All right. So we will set that aside for next time. All right, we're gonna move to old business, and it's a little unfortunate. There's 6 policies that we had a first read with the old board and are now doing a second read and taking action with the new board. And so I apologize that that's how it worked out timing wise, but that's how it worked out timing wise. If there are any policies on here that you don't feel comfortable voting on because you're not familiar with them, you are more than welcome to abstain. If there are specific questions or policies that you'd like reconsideration or more conversation, please feel free to raise that. That's okay. And we will again talk briefly through each item and just let you know where it came from, what it's about, if it's mandated or not. Except for the last.
Yeah.
So, all right, so we'll start with policy 6161.12. This is library material review and reconsideration. And you'll recall this is one of 3 policies specifically about our school library and library collection, and library displays. And these policies all are mandates that came out of legislation, this past legislative session.
These are rewrites for the policy that we did have. We did develop a library policy, and this is a rip and replace. So we're going to adopt the PAPE policies, the language that they provided us with, based on the new legislation being changed.
Yeah. So are there questions about 6161.12 library material review and reconsideration? Nope. Okay, if not, I would be looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept 6161.12 library material review and reconsideration policy.
Thanks, Mick. Seconded by Kim. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any abstentions? Any opposed? Motion passes. All right. One down. Next, we have policy 6161.13, and this is collection, development, and maintenance.
This is actually a new policy based on the fact that some materials end up in the curriculum and have been challenged. And now we are detailing the information that would assess these materials that are related to curriculum. Right.
I think this one is more about making sure that our school library media specialists are it's acknowledging that they are the professionals who have the ability to assess material and periodically pull it out of circulation based on its age, its relevance, its, you know, how well it's falling apart and pages are falling out. So it provides, you know, formal guidance. And actually, this is the one that might
This is
will
the one, right.
slightly change practice because there is an accompanying form that creates a little bit of paperwork for our library media specialists when things are pulled out of circulation. But they've reviewed this, they understand that it's part of this legislative
Again,
mandate.
I went back.
There's three of them, so it's all good.
Right.
But this is documenting their decision.
This is documenting the
Yeah.
decision making.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. Questions about 6161.13? Nope. All right. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Yep. So moved.
A second? Seconded by Annie. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. All right, and then the final library policy is 6161.14, library display and program. And this policy speaks again to our library media, our school library media specialists as experts. And they're the ones who, you know, under the guidance of our administrators are making relevant, appropriate school displays in the library. Age appropriate, grade level. Are there any questions about 6161.14? No, okay, is there a motion to approve policy 6161.14? Thank you, Erin. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Meg. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Motion passes unanimously. All right, the next policy is 6171 special education. And this is also a mandated language change. And I believe it was a small language change towards the end of the policy. Together.
This is a ripping place.
This is a rip in the place. It was not significant changes, though. The language, I think, was really around, this is the reporting one.
This is the-
mentioned earlier.
This
This is the language on how community-based organizations and special education programs that we send our students to out of district get
Oh, what
reported
she
back to
already
the board
reported.
annually.
And I move.
All right, Erin,
did it
makes the
already.
motion to approve 6171 special education. Is
I
there a
liked it.
second? Seconded by Kim. Any further discussion?
I liked that list and I think that's important. Yeah. I know where the kids are going.
And it does create a little additional labor for
Yeah.
Sarah, but I think, you know, she's happy to take it on and it's, again, a mandate.
But I
a
could see
legislative
where,
mandate.
you know, people didn't know and something negative happens.
Oh, yeah, the reporting is more to whether or not the private or the for-profit resources that are being used are actually doing the job. they're
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah.
And we do the oversight whenever we send kids out. So that's not the concern of our district, but there are some places that are taking a lot of money and are not doing the job, so. There's a mandate to have Department of Education to oversee, I think there's 80 different programs that have to be overseen.
Yeah.
Identified as either being good or bad or otherwise, so it's a little bit of work.
All right, there was a motion made and
Yeah.
seconded. All in favor?
Right.
Aye. Any abstentions? Any opposed? Motion passes. All right. That was 6171. Policy 5118.2, educational opportunities for military children. This is the final policy that we're considering tonight that came to us from, it's again mandated through legislation. Came to us through our last CABE policy update. And this does not represent a change in practice for our district. It just formalizes it in policy that we work with sending districts, or if we are the sending district, we partner to make sure that our students who are military families that may come to us mid-year are being well supported through that transition. Are there questions about this policy?
My memory is fuzzy from attending the last meeting, but was this also part of the discussion of like all the records and getting a child moves to another school, like the records follow them and cleaning up? So was that a separate?
Related to the high school.
That was high school, but never mind.
That was about record storage.
I
which
just
is
feel
a-
like this is,
Yep.
you still want the information to follow the kiddo.
Yeah, and how educational records are transitioned is definitely addressed in this
Okay.
policy.
Yeah, good.
Making sure that both we are providing records that are needed and that districts that might be sending
But
districts
we were
are
doing that
providing to
anyway.
us what
This
we
is
need.
this, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Other conversation or questions about this policy? Is there a motion to approve 5118.2 educational opportunities for military children?
So,
I'll second.
Thank you, Meg. Second by Sarah. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Motion passes. We are on a roll. All right, this last policy, 160, transfer of funds between categories, is not a mandated policy change. This policy recommendation comes from the policy committee based on conversations that we have had over the last year around transfer of funds between categories. So as Meg sort of pointed out earlier, when Stephanie was presenting the authorized spending report, sometimes we, as was the case last year, we mid-year made the deliberate purchase of a van to help off, because we knew that there was a demonstration that it would offset some of our transportation costs. So for the duration of the year, the line where the purchased vehicle was looked like it was way overspent, and the line where our transportation was being recorded was underspent. And so every month in her presentation, Stephanie would have to remind us, this line looks high because this line looks low because they balance. There was a lot of conversation about can we clean up our process of transfer of funds between categories so that it can happen periodically throughout the year. And Stephanie did a very thorough job of communicating with the town finance department around whether or not we could change that practice. And the short and long of it is no, we cannot. Our town software cannot accommodate that. So instead of changing the practice, we wanted to change our policy to bring it into alignment with what our current practice has to be based on town software and what the town says we are capable of doing. So the changes to this policy, I think you have a redlined copy, but this language came to us from Tom Robinson, the town finance director. He worked with Stephanie to clean up the language to make sure that it's accurate and it reflects what we're able to do, and that what we were able to do is, okay, and is good practice. So that's what those changes are. Are there questions about this?
Who makes the decision for transferring funds?
So the board still approves transfer of funds. We just can't do it periodically throughout the year. We do it at the end of the year, after the fiscal year ends. And at that point, Stephanie is able to balance out the accounts. So she will provide updates every month during her finance reports, and she will address areas where, here's what's going to be happening. We will be doing a transfer of funds eventually. She'll point out where there will be an overage or where there will be an underage.
So there's actually two scenarios. One is at the end of the school year, when the budget ends, we transfer funds to our maintenance fund, Fund 11, into the lunch fund. So that's excess money that's left over from the budget. And then at the end of the audit, because you cannot have negative amounts of money on your line items. So if your transportation budget is $50,000 in the hole, and you've got $50,000 in medical expenses that you haven't used, medical insurance benefits, that money can be transferred in. Stephanie will balance that out because the audit requires that. But our software doesn't allow for us to do it during the year, and she can't do it except at the end of the school year and at the end of the audit.
So she monitors it throughout the year.
The recommendation.
She does.
He makes
Stephanie.
recommendations to us and from Charles as well, that if there are items that are going to be larger, they'll point them out. Like the example with the van, she was bringing that up at every meeting, say as a reminder, here's when we'll deal with that. So that's how we left it.
And then if there's a shortage and we're in the hole like we were a couple of years ago, the board chair and Charles have to go to the board of selectmen to ask for additional funding, but we're not allowed to spend. We can't go into a negative balance at the end of our budget. So
That gets tracked very carefully.
It is tracked very out there.
Yeah.
And this is just shoring that up.
This is cleaning, yes, this is making sure our policy reflects how we are able to practice. Yes, there were questions about whether we could change our practice, and the answer is no. Yeah. It's kind of a mandate.
It is, well, it is. Well, it is because the state of Connecticut also wants to know
Yeah,
how much we've spent and where money's going.
And we want to know that our practices are in alignment with our policies. So that was an important one for us.
So I'll make a motion that we accept policy 3160 transfer of funds between categories as.
Thank you, Meg. Thank you, Kim. Any further discussion or questions? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. All right.
Attendance and such.
Thank you. That got us through a lot of policy there, so. All right, we are gonna move to our committee reports. And, curriculum committee.
According to the overhead sections, presentation tonight, very informative. Portand talked about the MTSS practices and how they really work on getting that all aligned, working on the structure, the instruction, professional learning about it. So we want to bring them together to work on how to implement and have common practices across all of the schools, to really tightening up those practices. Talked about the election day, professional development, I know that Sarah talked about, and some of the other things that you're looking at with math curriculums. So we'll be looking at and piloting some new math curriculum at grade level.
Oh, grade level 6, 7, and 8.
Yeah. And then we talked a little bit about the Google pilot program and looking at other SFL curriculums. And then we will be coming back, or we would be coming here tonight to talk about what we talked about. Yeah, everything.
Yes, thank you. And I would only add that Chuck has a data presentation that he's really looking forward to sharing with the board. It was originally on the agenda for tonight, and I requested that it be moved to next month. So I'm very sorry to Chuck to have pushed him off. But we will hear from Chuck with a presentation on student achievement and some of our data from last year. And that should be on the agenda, I imagine, in December.
It's in January.
January?
It's December.
Okay, look at that, John. Thank you, Kim. Policy.
I think we have a meeting scheduled for December 2nd, and I think we should put it on the Friday of meeting other than December 2nd, once we get some committee people on, but I don't think we're in we won't be in any shape to really have a conversation about it.
Let's talk about that.
All right.
All right, yes.
So
But we were meant to meet tonight and we pushed it off so
We
that we
did push
could
it off,
celebrate
and
the swearing in of our new board members.
Yeah, so we'll to be continued, but we'll have to figure out the date.
Yeah.
If it's December 2nd.
Yes. Personnel is in the middle of negotiations with our custodial bargaining unit, and it's going well. And you'll hear more about that soon. Buildings and grounds.
I don't think there's a meeting scheduled at this point. Could you maybe have us to have a meeting sometime? I think this is a nutty time of year. Can you just update us on the boiler at this point? With if you can do that, that would be enough for building and grounds at this point, because that's a critical at Brownstone.
Yeah,
We'd like to hear that part of it. Yeah,
for sure. Education specification task force, you all heard that update during Charles's updates. So unless there are specific questions about that, I'm just gonna keep us moving along.
there'll be much more on that to come. It's been really productive, very good conversations. I'm so grateful to the folks who have agreed to attend these meetings and be part of the conversation, because I think it's important to have all these voices working collectively. Kim, did you have anything you wanted to? It's been very, very productive meetings so far. All right, correct liaison.
Correct meets tomorrow at 11:30, and I attended an early childhood committee meeting for CREC, and they've got a 5-year guaranteed grant for Head Start and early Head Start. And they're full up. They've got 240 4-year-olds, and they've got I think 52 infants in there, and they're working on a family resource center at one of the schools in Hartford, in the field area. Very enlightening and really exciting, because we weren't sure they were gonna get that grant, and we did. They hit the money, so that's a good one.
That's amazing. Our Board of Selectmen liaison is Dave, who's not here tonight. But I did attend, I was at the last Board of Selectmen meeting, and I would only say if you're interested in water and sewer in town, there was a pretty interesting conversation during the last meeting about water and sewer and working with MDC to extend the current contract to get us to where the well will be online. If you're interested in that, that meeting is on YouTube. I'm sure Dave will have more to add when he's back. Youth Services Advisory.
They met tonight, and they're gonna assist with the tree lighting and the car parade, and if anybody wants to decorate their car, truck, or other vehicle, let Andy or let Courtney know right away. Proved to be very exciting, it was last year.
It's great.
And they also did a calendar of meetings, and I know I share I share the seat with Annie and with Erin, so I'm happy to not be the liaison to the board. If somebody else wants to pick that up, that would be okay with me. But you know, that's, yeah, and 4 times a year is when we meet. Yeah. Consider that.
Sarah, has the Portland Public Schools Climate Coalition met?
No, we're meeting either next month or January,
Okay,
so no new updates.
okay, thanks. Audience of citizens, do we have anyone online? Okay. I guess we do not have any public comment right now. So we'll go to Board of Education member comment, and just this is our time on the agenda for a little informal conversation. If there's any thoughts on your mind you want to share, now it's a good time. We don't do a whole lot of back and forth because we want to be careful about FOIA and make sure we follow our agendas. But if there's, you know, something you wanted to share, now's a good time. Or if there's anything that you'd like to see on a future agenda, you can always bring that up during this time as well. But generally we just go around the table. So I'll start over here, Sarah.
Welcome to Anne and Erin. So glad to be serving you both, and welcome back, Kim, and Dave, next session. But I'm looking forward to attending the CAPE convention on Friday, I think with Laurel and Meg, and maybe we'll have things to bring back, nuggets or information gained there.
Oh, thanks for having me.
All I've got.
Lots of notes, and yeah, I don't know, I will ask lots of questions if I don't understand, so bear with me, and thank you for, I guess, Portland for putting me here.
Awesome. And I'll zip over here, Anna.
And just congrats to the newly appointed board members and the returning. Thank you.
You know,
I'm gonna continue to extend congratulations to our new board members and to Dave and Kim for being reelected. And graduation on a Monday.
Spoken
Yeah,
an idea.
I wonder that too, Liam, if to be honest.
I
I
don't,
drove it
but
the last time. Yeah. I thought it should
You
be
don't like
on Friday.
graduation on the Monday.
day's a Friday. It's
nobody likes.
No one likes Mondays.
official
I know.
Friday for summer.
That's right.
He's been sitting there, right?
Yeah, I mean, point well taken. Graduation's on a Monday this year.
Maybe it'll be a snow day.
That's right. Sorry.
Well, you may have a better option for where the party's gonna be, so it might be better than trying to compete with everybody else that's trying to do a private graduation. So that could be to your benefit. Fingers crossed, yeah.
Good job, Meg.
I was for Friday a month ago and I was kind of like, yeah, no, we can't do that because of snow days. But anyway. You're still in graduate.
No, I don't have anything. I think I'll have a lot of questions for orientation.
Yep, that's to be expected.
Speaking of it all.
You're gonna have a lot of questions
Yeah.
like for the next year and that's
Yeah.
and beyond, and that's to be expected and that's great. And please feel free to ask.
Thank you. Great presentations. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
What you with that. Congratulations. Thank you, everyone. For our notes. Which a lot.
Yeah.
Takes a lot. Yeah.
That's right, nice. Yeah, welcome Annie and Aaron, well done, and Kim, welcome back. Look forward to working with all of you. Look forward to the CAPE convention, new leader, new board leader, in December 9th. I think you can take part in that, that's really important. And it's also good for, board members who've already been on the board, because there's 2 tracks for the newbies and take heart because you're hitting the worst time of year for being on a board, which is, the budget season and trying to understand all of the acronyms and all of the formulas. And so, we're all there once a long time ago. So just ask a lot of questions and read the books and ask questions. Yeah. Thank you to the great presentations tonight. I would like to make one comment though. I don't feel comfortable showing up at a school when they're having a celebration, but I would like to be invited more often. So when they did the blue ribbon thing, I wouldn't necessarily show up because I'm not invited, but if I'm invited, I'll come. And I think we should all be able to do that as boards. And I would also even consider recommending some boards will actually have an appointed liaison to the school to just be that person that shows up so that they can report back. And we might consider that in the future. I don't have children in the school, so I need to be invited. So I would hope to do that in the future. And also fundraisers. I like to support the kids in any way. But the money only goes so far. And they raise a lot of money for the athletic part of it and also the musicals and other things. So let us know when you need money and we can do something done. And that's it.
Great. I don't have much other than just to highlight, Meg mentioned there is a new board member orientation that Kate is offering on Tuesday, December 9th. I think Erin, you said you're already registered.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah,
Trish helped you get registered.
Yes.
Great. And Annie, if you have availability, it's in person.
It starts in the morning. so 5
In
o'clock.
Rocky Hill. It is an all-day orientation and it's a lot, but it's very helpful if you're able.
I can share mine.
And I know we'll be working to get some in-person orientation scheduled with our in-district folks as well.
Well, I was sort of starting. I think.
Good, great.
Yeah.
We do not need an executive session tonight, so we will just move right along and I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Meg, seconded. I saw Kim's hand share up.
Everybody.
All in favor?
Hi.
All right, we are adjourned.
Wait,
Thank you
guys help me
all.
push these out.
These, there were some that had done.